sweetie. I'm not gonna shut up. That's really sweet of you to offer, though. I'm not hungry right now. But I will explain to you why skinny shaming is not the same as fat shaming, even though it's weird because you literally proved my point on my video, the last one I posted. You're obviously fatphobic. So what I'm gonna say right now is if I'm going to the doctor and I'm skinny, I tell my doctor, LOL, I'm worried I'm gonna start restricting my eating again because I used to be anorexic. And she tells me, oh my God, Queen, you're skinny. Don't have to worry about that. Let me take you to the ED counselor, okay? Let me take care of you. Tell her the same thing, but I'm fat this time. She goes, oh, Queen, step the fuck back. You need to start restricting your eating, go on Weight Watchers. I need to get your blood work. You're fat and you're ugly, so we need to get you to start restricting your eating. Real thing that happened to me. I dramatized it a bit, but she did tell me to lose weight after I told her I was worried I was going to start starving myself. And then also, you have to also acknowledge, I'm systemically oppressed for being fat. I can lose my job. You can't for being skinny.
Okay, so this is a little video about white feminism. Thank you for asking this question. White feminism is basically feminism that is focused on white women and their struggles, and it fails to include / talk about the struggles that women of colour face, trans women face, and other marginalised communities. So I'm a white cisgender woman who has a roof over her head and access to education. Yes, I am a woman, and yes, I may face struggles, but I do not face struggles on the same level that a trans woman would, or a black woman would, or any other woman of colour. So unlike white feminism, intersectional feminism also does include the experiences of minority women, and it basically says that even though I am a woman, I do not face oppression on the same level as some other women.
Okay, white people, I want to have another team huddle, and I'm mostly talking to anyone who is not a cishet man, because I think we've given up on you guys, but I want to preface this by saying this is not a time to brag about ways that we've done this in the past in the comments. We don't need praise for doing the bare minimum, so let's just move forward. Let's see how we can do better in the future. If we are at an establishment, a place of business, and we see another white person being rude to someone who works there, who is a person of color, we need to speak up. We need to cause a scene. We need to make that other white person very uncomfortable. And I know it's an uncomfortable thing to do, but imagine how that person working there feels, experiencing racism all the time, right? So we need to consciously get over our discomfort in that situation and say something and speak up. Because there are no consequences. What are they going to do? Report us to management? Okay, I don't work there. Nothing's going to happen to me. I'm not going to lose my livelihood. So just another way we can be better.
Yesterday I made a video titled Landlords Suck, and someone commented, so if I pay off my mobile home in a couple of years, move and use the trailer for rent money, I automatically suck? Well, I hate to break it to you, but yes. Well, I'm sure you're a perfectly nice person. Let me explain to you why landlords are parasites. So typically when someone rents, it's because they cannot afford to buy their own house. However, every month they pay rent that's typically pretty close to a mortgage, but they don't actually build up any assets to be able to buy their own house. Meanwhile, the landlord, by virtue of ownership, is just collecting money off of you, but he's not actually contributing anything to the household. There's no way for a landlord to be able to spend enough money on labor and repairs lest they don't make any money. And while it might seem like an appealing job not having to work for that income, the renter has to work very hard for that money. Also, you're eating up the housing market by owning properties that could otherwise be used for other people. I'm sorry, but landlords fucking suck.
What you think these white people really want from us, man? You know what I'm talking about. White motherfuckers out here trying to imitate us, trying to rap, trying to dress black and all this shit. Bitches throwing pussy all over. What's going on with this shit? A lot of people just think it's like size, you know, the myth. Niggas got bigger dicks and shit. But I don't think that's it though, man. I think they gonna get some kind of life force or some shit from fucking with us.
Hey everyone. So this is definitely not a light subject. This is very complex, and I may lose a few people on the way to forming my argument, which is okay, but I'm willing to bet that the first group of people that is going to say or comment, "You lost me here," is the same group of people that gaslit me in the comments to another video. So I'm not going to tag the creator below because I've already given them enough attention, but essentially what went down was his stepmom stole his money, allegedly, and he decided to put Nair in her conditioner. I made a response to that video and I said, that's not right, maybe just start having a conversation with her. It's not really smart to meet violence with violence, if you know what I mean. And I even validated his emotions in that time because he is valid in feeling annoyed and angry at her. But then I realized something because I was not seeing a video of like the end results of what had happened after she put the Nair in her hair. And then I had an inkling of maybe this was just framed, and then my suspicions were confirmed. And after watching that, I mean, being a musician, I already knew the timbre was off of that voice. It wasn't a real person, or it was coming through a speaker. It wasn't in the house. And I was correct. because this is where the original audio came from, and he plagiarized it. He took her audio and he never cited her.
Work your way down and... Did you see that? It just fucking kicked over.
And I apologize because there are going to be so many more layers of analysis, but if there is no introspection, there's going to be no conclusion. Because a lot of people who happen to be white or white passing were gaslighting me in the comments when I called him out. So we have to remember, who was he stealing this content from? A woman of color, more specifically a woman of color that was in distress because literally a part of her hair is falling out. And I really empathize with her because being a person of color, there is so much upkeep with your hair. It's moisturizing, washing, conditioning. I mean, a lot of work goes into it, and when you lose a bit of it, that's like losing a part of yourself. And here come the people that are gaslighting me. Oh, she only lost a few hairs. It's not bad at all. She can hide it. Oh, and for the people that gaslit me publicly, I will be showing your comments. Because this is not only a learning experience, but this is a call out for people to actually be cognizant of their own race and how they enter conversations that have to deal with race. Identity is intersectional, feminism is intersectional. And I'm shocked to see that no one's making the connections that I did. That being a woman of color in distress and her voice being plagiarized and used to actually profit off of either financially or socially, which is then met with apathy and encouragement for that behavior. And I know a lot of you are going to be like, well, I want something more black and white, something more concrete. I got you, I took notes. His first post had 17.4 million views, and then the next 5 videos that he posted that were drawing out the entire situation actually grossed around 7 million views collectively. Even if he's not on the creator fund, he is profiting off of it because social capital is a currency, meaning you will be rewarded if you have a lot of followers. And it's sad that I'm used to this behavior, but someone said, oh, get over it, you don't need to bring race into everything. Shannon says, he didn't make a single dollar. How do you know? Oh, then this lovely user telling me to be quiet. And they all have one thing in common. So I just woke up to this amazing comment from my mutual and a white ally. Notice how they weren't gaslit in the comments. This is privilege, and they're using it correctly.
As requested, here is part 2 of my thoughts while reading the excruciatingly neoliberal feminist book, Full Frontal Feminism by Jessica Valenti. I'd first actually like to take a moment to clarify what is meant by neoliberal feminism. Neoliberalism itself is a policy model that encompasses both politics and economics, and seeks to transfer the control of economic factors from the public sector to the private sector. This is done to help facilitate deregulated free market capitalism. Neoliberal feminism views gender equality within the context of that free market capitalism. Therefore, its values and goals are aligned with neoliberalism. Valenti's book exemplifies this, especially in chapter 8 when she talks about work. She opens the chapter by correctly stating that most women have no choice but to work for a living. But this is not meant as a condemnation of that reality, in which capitalism necessitates that we work to survive. It's simply brought up to refute the Republican claim that most women choose to stay at home. This statement acts as a very brief way to signify neoliberal feminism's approach to labor-related issues. It recognizes the coercive structure of money and work under capitalism, but it refuses to question if that structure is good for women or society as a whole. Rather, it's simply taken for granted. Valenti then goes on to mention the wage gap, that women make 76% of what men make. But Valenti doesn't acknowledge that this statistic is only true for white women. Once race is accounted for, we could see that the wage gap between black and Hispanic women and white men is much wider. The ignoring of this crucial nuance reflects one of the main issues with neoliberal feminism. It's constructed around the standpoint of white women. This becomes more evident as Valenti goes on to assert a proposed solution to the wage gap. Climb up the corporate ladder and hire more women. Basically, let upwardly mobile white women be in charge of wages and everything will sort itself out. This suggestion relies on some girl boss version of trickle-down economics, where we rely on the privileged to succeed, so that they will hopefully act against their own self-interest and give back to those below them. And this suggestion answers the question to the bell hooks quote that I mentioned in the first video. If feminism is about equality, then which men do women want to be equal to? Valenti's answer is implicitly white bourgeois men. She sees their position in society as something women ought to be striving towards. This ends up reflecting what the neoliberal feminist model for gender equality actually looks like. Equal participation in capitalism for both men and women. There's no meaningful interrogation into what it actually means to hold that ideal white male bourgeois position. That is, whose labor are you profiting off of in order to enjoy the privilege of being a corporate executive? And notice how this also plays into the individualism that I mentioned in the first video. The onus of responsibility for ending gender inequality relies solely on the individual woman, and her capacity to simply get a better job. Neoliberal feminist praxis is thus depoliticized. It's not about mass movement or collective struggle. It's about individual achievement. Here's some further reading if you want to learn more about the rise of neoliberal feminism.
If there is one thing you'll never catch me doing ever again, is trying to defend my feminism to a man. Like trying to convince him that I'm not one of the extreme, that feminism is not about hating all men. You know why I won't bother doing that? Because I don't care. I don't care about how they perceive me. I don't care about how they perceive this movement, because this movement is not about them. They do not matter here. You think I'm too extreme? Well, I think that violence against women in society is very extreme, and I think the response must match. Oh, you think I hate all men? Well, I hate patriarchy, and if you genuinely think that patriarchy is all men, then fuck yes, maybe I do. Maybe I do. I don't give a shit. Like, how are you going to judge me and judge the way I'm trying to liberate myself from a system that you benefit from? It's like rich people born into wealth telling poor people that they don't work enough. What the fuck do you know about work? What?